Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube page. I'm Philip Bolter and I'm an artist here in San Diego. Today we're going to do another fun tutorial creating this wonderful landscape with a little bit of a sunset. This is from an image that I found off a royalty-free website called unsplash.com. I found this awesome image. I think I'll put it right here. But I thought this would be a really fun image to use for a painting. So obviously check out Unsplash for any of these royalty-free images to use for yourself. But today we'll be using that to create this wonderful landscape. This is definitely for practice, but you can always give it to a friend or a family member. I'm going to run through a list of the art materials that you'll need to use today to follow along with this art tutorial. I'm going to be using my Holbein artist gouache, but you could use any gouache at home or acrylic paint to follow along with this tutorial. Starting with the colors, I'm going to start with an iris. I'm going to use a rose violet. I'm going to use a cadmium red, a cadmium yellow orange, a cadmium yellow, an olive green, raw sienna, permanent white, and I'm using a jet black. For my paper, I'm going to be using my Stonehenge Aqua Hot Press. This is a 140-pound watercolor paper block that I ripped the sheet out and I folded it in half and rip the edge, so I have half of the page to use. You'll also be needing some of your watercolor brushes, and for that I'm going to be using this Princeton Heritage 1/4 stroke. It's almost like a flat wash to me. This is a Winsor & Newton Series 7 round 3, a Winsor & Newton Series 7 round 1, a round 0, and a Princeton Heritage liner brush number 2. You'll also be needing a color palette. You could use one of these like this, which is a plastic color palette, or you could get a butcher pan as thick as this one. This is really nice because it's heavy and it won't move around very much. You could get yourself a little paper towel for drying your brush off, and you can get 1 or 2 cups of water to wash your brush off. I like to use 2 cups because I like to wash off my pigment in one of these cups, and then I like to use the cleaner water while mixing my gouache. Let's get started. To get this nice smooth edge around your paper, you can go ahead and use artist's tape, and this is really nice because it will usually come off very smooth off of a hot-pressed watercolor paper. And what you're going to do is just take some of this tape and run it around your edges. Now that I have my tape down, I'm just going to go ahead and do a light illustration to know where my horizon's going to be, where some of my roses are going to be, where this pathway is going to be. So take a minute right now and just do that while you're at home. To begin this painting, we're going to start with the background. So I'm going to use my iris, and I'm going to put a little bit here on my color palette. And I'm going to use that 1/4 inch stroke, get a little bit of my water, start mixing my gouache paint. Using a little bit of permanent white, I'm going to come into the iris color that we have, and I'm going to mix some of this permanent white into it to create a nice light iris color similar to a lilac. Continuing with our 1/4 inch stroke, we're going to come down here and create some of this nice green background on these bushes down here. So to do that, I'm going to use a little bit of this olive green. I'm going to pop it here right into my other color palette. And I'm just going to mix that up. Moving on to the pathway, I'm going to use my round 3 for this, and we're going to use our raw sienna. So I'm going to put a little bit of raw sienna right into my color palette. I'm going to give it just a little pop of color by adding a little bit of permanent white. Okay. All right, now we can move on to our mountains in the back. And to do that, we're going to use our iris color that we were using in the beginning. We're going to put a little bit right there on my color palette. And we're going to darken this color up by using a little bit of jet black or any black that you have. I'm going to put that black color right here off to the side. Using my round number 3 again, I'm going to come in here and mix a little bit of that black into this iris color to make a very dark purple color. All right, time to move on. We can create some of our sunset now. We're gonna do that by starting with a little bit of cadmium red. I'm gonna put just a tiny bit on my color palette right there. And we're gonna create a very bright pink by using a lot of our permanent white with this mixture. And to do that, I'm gonna be using a round one. Our next step is to create some of this bright yellow in the sunset by using some of our cadmium yellow. Just a tiny bit like our last time using the red. We're gonna just use a little tiny bit right there and come back in using a lot of our permanent white to brighten it up. Again, using our Winsor & Newton round one. Come in, get a nice mixture. All right, the next step we could do is work on some of this orange in our sunset. So we're going to use a little bit of this cadmium yellow orange, bring it right into your color palette. Again, we're going to brighten it up using a little bit of our permanent white and using our round one. We're going to come in here, create a nice little orange mix. All right, now that we have our orange color down, we're going to come back in and use a little bit of our iris color to get some of this dark purple color right into our sunset. And to do that, I'm just going to put a little bit of iris color there. It's still a little fresh from earlier, so I'm just going to go in here, get that mixture going again for a nice light iris. And we're going to come in here and make these little almost like they're cloud shapes or something like that. We're also going to make a little bit of this reflection of the mountain down here. All right, our sunset is looking really good. Now we can move down on into the bushes and some of these flowers. So to start that, we're gonna come in and use our olive green once again. So I'm gonna put a little bit back on my color palette where I had it. But this time we're gonna darken it up by using a little bit of our jet black. Going back to my round 3, I'm going to take a little bit of water and take some of the black and put it into my olive green. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to create a darker shade of this olive green. now that this has dried a little bit, we can come in and using our permanent white, I'm gonna put a little on our palette right there, and our round one, we're going to take some water, get that mixed, and we're gonna be working on just a couple of the highlights back here for our sunset, as well as these flower dots in the distance. Now that we have the white flowers down, we can work on the next layer of flowers, which is going to be using our rose violet or a nice shade of pink that you have, a different pink that you used, a different pink from the sunset that you created would work perfectly fine for this. But like I said, I'm using rose violet, and I'm going to add some permanent white to that to make a nice pink out of this color. Now that we have the background of our flowers in here, we can come in and create some nice smooth lines for this Mexican sage. To do that, we're gonna use our olive green again, and I'm gonna come in here this time into my palette because we're gonna create a nice light green out of this. And to do that, I'm gonna put some of my permanent white in there. And using my liner 2, I'm gonna mix that up, my liner 2. moving on to the next step, we're going to create the flowers actually on these Mexican sage plants. And to do that, we're going to be using our rose violet once again. Put a little bit right there on your color palette. And we're going to create a pink that's slightly darker than the one that we had previously done. I'm going to come back in here, my color palette, and mix a nice color, nice pink color. To create some visual interest on these flowers, we're going to come back in and use a darker shade of that rose violet. I already had some here on my color palette, so I'm just going to darken that up. And we're going to come back in and just create a nice little top layer on these flowers to just give it a little bit more contrast. To continue down this path of creating visual interest and more contrast in this piece, we're going to add a little bit of cadmium yellow to our olive green and create a nice bright green color to create some nice bright green leaves. And now for the final touch, we're going to come in and create this nice looking little dock right here. And to do that, we're going to use our round zero for a little bit of that detail and some of the iris color that we were using in the very beginning. So come back in, put a little fresh dollop of iris right back onto your palette. Come in here with your round zero and create a nice dark shade of that iris color. And to do that, we're going to create just these little lines for these dock pillars, as well as little lines for the wood planks that come across. All right, now that we're finished with our painting, we can take off our tape and sign it at the end. Well, all right, there we go. We just created an awesome, beautiful painting of a nice sunset, some Mexican sage flowers, and a little path leading out to the stalk. This was a really wonderful painting, and I enjoyed creating this one based off the royalty-free images that we used. This was certainly a fun tutorial to create. I hope you enjoyed painting this one. If you would like to share with me, you can share with me on Instagram at Bolter Design Co. or on Facebook at Bolter Design Co. If you'd like, please consider to subscribe to my channel. That certainly helps the channel grow and create more tutorials in the future. And if you'd like to learn more about gouache, you can always go over to bolterdesignco.com and take my course. Sign up today and you can learn how to create some wonderful flowers, all while leading up to a full composition of a vase of flowers. It's a full in-depth course. It's got over 6 hours of content, and it's all pre-recorded, so you can fast forward, come back to it later. It's all there for you when you need it. Again, thank you for watching one of these tutorials, and I hope to see your artwork soon.